And this is a bit like there's quite a bit of light and dark up here. I don't want to. There's a few really good highlights just in there. So until I'm sort of ready to really focus on there, I don't want to get in there too much, apart from putting in colour where I know there's colour. I don't want to accidentally go over a highlight that I needed, so I'll tend to stay away from it for quite some time, you know. There's some interesting little bits in here as well. Some really nice colours. If you have a look up through here, I definitely use pink and some blues, some purples, some yellows. There's my brush. I just soften the edge. Actually, I mean, the magenta is very grabby. It kind of, even when you do that with a water brush and you've sort of softened your edges as you go, it seems to dry quite in strong lines. It doesn't seem to dry as softly as you might hope. Which is why it's always good to not be right at the edge of where you want it to be, so that you can sort of work into it a little bit more later and smooth things out a bit. But if you're right at the edge of your highlight or something, then you know you're going to gobble up space. So do yourself a little bit of working room. Where else we want this bit over here? Just a tiny little touch of colour. Okay. I'm just running some more colour down here where I know it's not a highlight, and I'll soften the edge that wants to be good and be soft. Let's see. There's a bit of a. Let's see how it is now. Through here can be a bit darker, and as my paper's a bit damp, I'll take the opportunity to just pop in a little more colour. And even put out a little bit of blue, I think. Let's see, what do we want? I want a cool blue, so probably if you have ultramarine or you have a cobalt blue. The one I've got on my palette. I think it's Cobalt Blue Deep. I think either will work. It's a soft, quite a nice smoky kind of, maybe slightly cool blue, but quite a nice blue. So just a little bit of that might pop in whilst it's damp, and just sort of run it down this edge here that I see. Just a hint at this point. And some around here that could be good. A couple of lines that I saw, so I'll just leave it at that and develop those a little bit later. But as we've got the blue, we can run it down some of the ridges down here. It's just my water brush. I just sort of drag it up a little bit and fill in this part here. It's definitely a little bit cooler there. Another little ridge there. Just a couple of lines really, just coming down. It can certainly be darker down here, so I'm going to do that. And here it's going to get much deeper and we can definitely add more blue tones in here. And while I'm at it and I see it, we can pop some of that blue in this shadow here. Just kind of just come to part way and lift that top edge. And there's a bit of a arc of colour, blue. You can do, it gets quite deep over this side. But there's some really great ridges we'll have to work on here. Oh, there's some other blue as well we can add. This is where, when I sort of took my time and mapped out all the little indents, and starts making things a little bit quicker now because it's already there, so you can just, it's a little bit a faster reference going from photo to paper and back and forth. So I'm just adding, there's a couple of ridges that really are quite blue. We can add some of that now. And a tiny little smidge of it up here. This will sort of be like the underpainting. It'll show through still later, but we might even, we'll be covering it over with some sort of soft mauve colour, but you'll sort of see this. And that, I reckon, is like the best bit about watercolour, because I really like all the layers. Which is also why I choose, as much as possible, transparent colours. You know, to have a look on the paints, right? To see that they'll tell you what their transparency is.
Yep.
So, there's only a couple of colours that I wish were more transparent, like Opera Rose is super bright. It's like a neon pink, which is great, because sometimes you go, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want right there. But it's not quite it's not quite light fast. So I then also think, well, which do I want? Do I want something that's more light fast, which is, yeah, longevity and all that. Although I do think, I do wonder, I've seen a couple of like swatches of people's tests, like class tests, and the difference between a few years between it being covered and you seeing what the true colour was and say it being exposed to light, or you really can't tell the difference. I mean, you can tell it's lost something of an intensity, or maybe it's shifted to a tiny bit cooler of the tone or something, but really nothing that I would be totally like, oh no, it's just faded out into nothing. I think it's almost like not quibbling over nothing, but like nobody would notice, and things on some of them. Perhaps others are a little bit more noticeable, but it's good to know that whatever you choose is probably going to last just fine, really. It's popping in a little bit of a shade there that I see. We can pick up later, maybe just there. Really tiny and really lightly though. This is just in sort of a little light blue wash, and that you can easily, this blue is quite nice and movable, so you can certainly take that back down a notch if you need to, with the little brush. And I'm just going to pop some through here. Oh, it's quite dark, and through there we can start giving that a bit of something. Pink. And let's see. Okay, we could still continue with the blue, I think, but a tiny bit lighter than what we've been doing, I think. So there we go. So really soft touch of blue. Don't go crazy. Just a touch of it.
because you can build it up. But we can pop in just sometimes what I do as well is you can get lost in the smallness of zooming in and then in a photo, and then you zoom out and you sort of see a little bit more overall, which can be helpful. Can be helpful just to sort of get an overall view of things. So through here we can add a little bit of that shadow there, maybe make it a little rounder. And just drag any excess sort of out the back. Right. And then we could even pop it in here. It's quite a dark bit of a shadow, this little part up here. And this will help sort of develop our form a little bit. Now, see, now zooming out, I can see a little bit more where it's quite pink through here, but there's a little bit more shade just in a sort of a slight pattern through here. So I'm going to emphasize that a bit more. That's that whole squint to see it. You might miss it, but me sort of going, oh, there's something there. Let's make that even more, just to help with that not being one block of shade. It has some sort of interest in it, shall we say, and something little in different shapes. So if you have a look at the photo, you might have to squint your eyes and say, gosh, what was she looking at? I mean, but there's a tiny bit of difference between this edge here and this edge here. This is quite a bit pinker and brighter, and that might be a bit more muted down, so we'll sort of intensify that just a little bit. And that's what gets like that whole, when people say, oh, you have so much light, you capture so much light in your paintings, because I'm always trying to look for an excuse to put a bit of dark in, really, and a bit of light. Anything I see. Now we can sort of strengthen up this border here just a little bit. I'm not going all the way up, just making it stronger just down the bottom. And that will automatically give back our sort of nice light. There's a little bit of shape up there. Yeah, it's a cold day here, so you saw me pop that on, and I wasn't in any particular hurry to sort of quickly put any water brush on the edges and things, because if I was in somewhere like a hot sunny day, that would have dried much quicker, but right now it doesn't. So you've sort of got a little bit of time where you don't have to go back with the water brush quite so quickly. And this will be much darker. I also know that. So any wash at this point, which you're in luck, the first couple of sessions on the painting, always, the wash isn't the most smooth, and and it's a bit rough or whatever, it's totally fine, because this is going to get quite a bit darker, and so you'll cover over anything. This is still just sort of base layer, which means you can't do too badly anything really. There is a sort of arc of shadow there that I want to put in. And then it comes down here. And it has a definite shape, so we want to get that. So you can see it's not, I'm not in any particular rush to sort of move all that around. It'll just soften the edge. There we go. So that's an interesting shape in there. And when you look at the photo, you'll see there's sort of some reflected light in amongst in there, which is what I'm trying to sort of make sure I paint around so I can get later on. And if I squinted my eyes, I can also see there's sort of more of a shape through here. That's a shadow, more of a bush, and then through here. But I am leaving the middle bit out a little. So I don't know if you can pick that up on the video, but that's it. If you have a look at your photo, there's a glow that's happening between here. That's this nice hot pink, and then you've got this greyed part, which is our blue that we've added, and then there's going to be a few sort of lines of colour that are going to give a slight glow through that we want to try and capture. So I've left that pink. I haven't painted over that. We'll put in more pink. Obviously, it's got to be a lot stronger, but in here you can there's some definite interesting bits of light that's coming through that we want to make sure we don't paint over too quickly. And that really is, I mean, you just have to sort of have a photo and squint your eyes and try and see if you can see anything of interest. And there will be quite nice fine lines that go through here as well. Let's have a look now that I've done that. Down the bottom part. Down the bottom part's similar as well. We're going to have sort of some nice pink and some shaded lines. I know it sounds cryptic at the moment, somewhat, but there'll be something like, let's see, we can put a few of them in. at this point, whatever you put in as a sort of a line guide is easy enough to erase if you get the angle wrong or something, which I've done, you know, and you think, oh, that doesn't look quite right. So you have another crack at it. This is quite a little curve that goes around. I'm not sure I like that one there, so we can just work that out into nothing and have another little look at that when it's a little bit dry there. Okay, that's kind of layer 2. We didn't get up to here too much. Let's see. We can do a little bit more in there. In the top part we'll work on. Yeah, let's have a look at that. I'm just going to soften that curve while I'm here. And then still with the blue, just a really light blue is turning out to be quite a nice kind of line drawing sort of device at this point. Just to add some of the lines that you see. Just a little V angle really. Again, I've kind of left that middle part and just almost outlined that area. That's all. And do a little tiny wash of it just on this side here, I think. Just to pull that into a sort of a more bluey tone. Right, so I think that's kind of it for the first part. Do I want to do any more up here? Maybe just define that a little bit more. And probably stop and not do up there. just we might add a different sort of colour, keep it a little bit more interesting. All right. Round 3. So, your task, and whichever way you're going to leave it. So, any questions? What do we use? We just used magenta, and then I used, which I can look up for you, one of these sort of more muted colours, and we just popped that just down here, really, didn't we? Nothing, just to start on that, only because I realised what colour it could be, so I thought I'd pop it in. And then we used that nice, well, it's cobalt blue deep, and if you sort of have a look at what that colour is, I'm not sure what brands you're using yourself, you might find something similar in your brand. It's just a nice sort of, it's not a warm blue, it's quite a cool blue, which I think is nice. It's easy to add warmth. It's harder to take warmth away, so it's easier to add a cool blue and then warm it up later than it is to make it into something cool. Kind of feel like this is quite a cool tulip colour with just some spots of warmth that we can add easily enough with so it's quite good to keep most of your colours quite cool, I think. And then we can always add in warmth. You can't take it away, so it's it's good to sort of leave it till the last minute, really, if you can. Yeah, so that's it, ladies.
Thank you.
Another round done. I mean, it's looking kind of bad, but it's looking kind of good. I can see shape and I can see colour and all those things still. So that's something. Got a way to go though, definitely. All right, so if there's not any more questions, and obviously you can always email me, and you can email me with your painting thus far if you want, all 3 of them if you want, Kate.
I think we'll miss one, definitely.
So yeah, any questions, just yell out, no problems. And otherwise, I will see you. If I don't talk to you in between, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so what's today? Thursday. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
When it gets there. Okay. See you later.
Get that
Bye.
fire going. Oh,
I have got it going, Bronwyn. I've got the fire going as of yesterday.
girl.
All right. Cheerio then. Bye.
See you. Bye.